Most people think that studying means reading the same thing over and over again until it sticks. But that's actually one of the least effective ways to remember anything long term. The real secret is called active recall. Imagine you're trying to memorize a phone number. Instead of just staring at it again and again, you close your eyes and try to say it from memory. That tiny moment of struggle, where your brain works to retrieve the answer, is where real learning happens. Active recall is exactly that. Forcing your brain to pull information out instead of just pushing it in. When you read a textbook and then flip it shut and ask yourself, what did I just read? Your brain builds stronger memory connections because it's actively retrieving that information. It feels harder than just rereading, but that's the point. The more effort you put into remembering, the deeper that memory sticks. Think of it like going to the gym. Lifting weights tears your muscles a little, and your body repairs them stronger than before. Active recall works the same way for your brain. Instead of highlighting, start using flashcards. Ask questions to yourself while studying. Quiz yourself out loud, close your notebook, and try to explain the topic in your own words. Every time you try to recall something, you're training your memory like a muscle. Passive reading might feel good, but it tricks you into thinking you've learned something when you haven't. Active recall feels uncomfortable, but that discomfort is a sign that your brain is actually learning. So the next time you sit down to study, don't just read, ask, recall, explain, and repeat. That's how top students remember what they learn, and that's how you can too. One of the biggest mistakes students make is cramming everything the night before a test and then forgetting it all just days later. That's because our brains aren't designed to hold on to information we only see once. Real memory is built over time, and that's where spaced repetition comes in. Instead of studying something once and hoping it sticks, you review it again and again, but with gaps in between. The first time you learn something, review it the next day, then a few days later, then a week after that. Each time you'll remember more and more with less effort. It's like watering a plant. If you dump a whole bucket of water on it once and ignore it for a week, it dies. But if you give it small amounts regularly, it grows stronger every day. Spaced repetition uses that same principle for your brain. The best part is that every time you come back to the material after a break, your brain has to work just a little harder to remember it, and that effort is what makes the memory stick. Apps like Anki or Quizlet are great for this because they automatically space your reviews based on how well you know something. But you don't need an app to start. You can use a calendar or planner and just schedule your reviews. Day 1, day 3, day 7, day 14, and so on. Even 5 to 10 minutes of review using spaced repetition can be more powerful than hours of passive rereading. So instead of cramming everything all at once, break your learning into small, repeated sessions. You'll retain more, stress less, and be amazed at how much you can remember over time. Most people finish studying and think they've understood everything just because they read it or highlighted it. But the real test is, can you explain it without looking? That's exactly what the blurting technique helps you do. Blurting means closing your book, grabbing a blank page, and writing down everything you can remember about a topic from memory. No peeking, no checking notes, just you and your brain. It's like a brain dump. You write as much as you can, even if it feels messy or incomplete. The moment you stop writing and look back at your notes, you'll clearly see what you remembered and what you forgot. Those gaps tell you exactly where you need to focus. And every time you do this, your brain builds stronger connections because it's being forced to retrieve and organize the information on its own. It's active recall and self-testing combined in one simple technique. Blurting isn't about writing perfect answers. It's about finding the holes in your knowledge and filling them before it's too late. Even doing this for just 5 minutes after studying something new can completely change how well you understand and remember it. It doesn't matter if you're studying science, history, or math, the method works for everything. You can even do it out loud, explaining the topic as if you're teaching it to someone else. The more often you blur and review, the more confident and clear your understanding becomes. It's uncomfortable at first, but that struggle is exactly what makes the learning permanent. Your environment has a bigger impact on your focus than you think. When you sit down to study in a messy, distracting, or noisy space, your brain has to work twice as hard just to stay on task. But when your surroundings are clean, calm, and visually pleasing, your mind feels lighter and more focused. That's where an aesthetic study environment comes in. Not just for looks, but for productivity. A tidy desk, soft lighting, and minimal clutter tell your brain it's time to concentrate. Add in things you genuinely enjoy, like a favorite pen, a candle with a calming scent, or a plant on your table. And suddenly, studying feels less like a chore and more like a moment of peace. You're creating a vibe that invites your brain to work, not for distractions. It's not about expensive gadgets or Pinterest-level design. Even just organizing your books, removing unnecessary items, and making sure your phone is out of sight can make a huge difference. When your study space feels intentional, your mind becomes more intentional too. Small aesthetic touches, like using colored sticky notes, neat handwriting, or your favorite playlist in the background, can boost motivation and reduce procrastination. The key is consistency. When you return to the same clean, focused space every day, your brain builds a habit of deep focus in that spot. Over time, just sitting there can signal to your mind that it's time to learn. It's not about being fancy, it's about being focused, and a good environment is your first step toward that focus. When you think of Japanese students, the first words that often come to mind are discipline, focused, and consistent. And there's a reason for that. Their habits are shaped by a deep cultural respect for education and effort. And that mindset shows up in how they study. They don't rely on last-minute cramming or shortcuts. Instead, they build a routine, stick to it, and show up every day, whether they feel like it or not. It's not about studying for hours and hours nonstop. It's about making small efforts every single day and letting those efforts add up. They treat study time like a job, not something optional, and they protect that time from distractions. No multitasking, no scrolling through phones between topics, just deep, focused learning. Even breaks are intentional. They rest when it's time to rest and work when it's time to work. One powerful habit is self-accountability. Instead of waiting for someone to push them, they take control of their progress. They reflect on what they've learned, track their mistakes, and constantly try to improve. They also prioritize handwriting their notes, rewriting summaries, and using simple, effective tools like flashcards, notebooks, and planners. Their approach isn't flashy, it's steady. And that steadiness is what helps them build strong foundations in every subject. They understand that real success doesn't come from motivation alone. It comes from creating a system and showing up for it day after day, even when it feels boring. That's what makes them consistent, and that's what helps them achieve long-term success. At the end of the day, studying isn't about being perfect or having some secret talent. It's about building the right habits and showing up for yourself even when it's hard. You don't need to spend all day buried in books or chase impossible routines. You just need to be consistent, curious, and a little bit patient. Every small improvement you make today is one less mistake you'll make tomorrow. Every minute you spend learning, even if it's just reviewing one concept or writing one page, adds up. Progress doesn't always feel exciting in the moment. It's quiet, steady, and often invisible. But keep going anyway, because the results come to those who stay in the game longer than everyone else. You're not just learning facts, you're training your brain to think, focus, and grow. And that's all something no one can take away from you. So take a breath, pick up your pen, and get back to it. You're already doing better than you think.